boondocking actually gets a bad rap in some ways. But would you rather be in a place like this? Or it could be like this. Most people will see boondocking as roughing it with a camper or RV out there somewhere on Bureau of Land Management land, BLM land, going out there without hookups, so you have to rely on your own water, electricity, and of course sewer. It's free camping basically because the Bureau of Land Management has it wide open and there's some of these spaces and they're beautiful places to be. And the Bureau of Land Management has traditionally in the past basically set up for ranching and for cattle to roam freely. Now the Bureau of Land Management allows for all this, but there are a couple of rules to follow. Now contrast that to regular campgrounds where you have a ton of rules, but all your needs are taken care of. So basically all your water, sewer, electricity, and you have all these amenities. You can have pool, spa, frisbee golf, whatever you've got. And basically it's set up so that all your needs are met. You basically pay into a system. So the way I see it is kind of a contrast between these two systems. With boondocking, you're practicing the art of self-reliance. And you're out there and you're basically out there in the wild and you're seeing things like this, wild goats, and you're seeing wild views. There's a much more wildness about it, and in some cases, of course, unpredictability. Some places aren't always safe, and some places can be, really hard to get to. But in the end, you get to basically self-govern. And in that sense, it's that entrepreneurial spirit, it's that pioneering spirit, that rebel spirit. Most people that boondock have this rebel spirit in them, I think, and they have more of a sense of freedom, of self-reliance, and they learn systems, they learn solar, they learn how electricity works and how to troubleshoot, and they learn how to take care of their sewer needs, conserve on water and basically get their water needs met as well. So in that sense, it's much more of a self-reliance system, and the people who do it are much more oriented that way versus a campground, which you basically buy into, and it has a lot of rules that come with it. And all those rules society makes for us, basically you could be breaking a dozen or more by lunchtime. And that's the drawback, is you have this system. And I think people on a whole become reliant upon it. They become less self-governing and more, kind of plugging into a system and basically demanding that the system take care of them if they pay into it. You can practice self-reliance, be off the grid with a house or whatnot. But the thing of it is, when you do that, it's much more complicated and it's a lot more expensive. It's much easier to just get like a cheap, an inexpensive camper, and then, you only need a couple solar panels, or you only need like a couple batteries. Whereas with the house, you're going to need a lot more with your system to work effectively. Obviously, then if you're off grid, you're even more self-reliant. But again, it's more expensive, and I think for most people, it's probably harder to get to. You're better off because you, quote unquote, own your land. Now, obviously, within all of that, you're still relying upon an overall system, but I think there is some bit of self-reliance that you can actually practice. And this can be even in short spurts, where you get out, you boondock a bit, and you start to understand and troubleshoot things and understand how these different systems work. It's kind of like exercising. You need situations to basically get that exercise of our entrepreneurial spirit. I think for the most part, society wants us to be reliant upon the system. As a whole, the average person is going to be less solution oriented. They're just going to be like, rely upon the tech expert, rely upon the rely upon whatever expert is out there to give them advice, to give them what they need, and rely upon their phone, not their memory, to, like, let's say, get to a location. Just plug it into your phone. So between technology and the reliance upon the system, and then all the rules are designed to basically make it so that we're always having to check in with external forces to see if what we're doing is correct, or to validate what we're doing, or to basically do anything at all, because there are so many rules anywhere you go. Even at a rest stop, you can't even take your dog near a picnic table. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I just think there are so many rules these days that it becomes something where people don't care anymore. A lot of society is built up on the problem, reaction, solution. There's a problem. There's a reaction to that problem. There's a solution. What many fail to realize is that that the problems are actually intentionally created so that the solutions are something that the governing bodies want anyway. And it looks like they're just putting it into place because of demand by society or by people. And a perfect example of that is with boondocking. There's started to be a number of these shut down. And that's because they're reacting to the problem. The problem is trash, sewage, just nastiness out there. And definitely there's going to be some people who just have a total disregard for any of the land there and will do whatever they want, throw their trash out and whatever. It's not that the problem doesn't exist, it's that they've amplified it. And a lot of that has to do with the news. You see a lot of the news. People who boondock really are seen in a bad light, like just trying to take advantage of the system. They don't really care, and it should all be shut down anyway. They're kind of, the people who do boondock are seen as bad and not really caring, and just really just trying to get everything for free, and and so on and so forth. If you see the media, anytime they show someone trying to park even in the location, they show them in a bad light, and people are, and a lot often the articles will come, and the person they'll have a quote from a person saying, "I just wanted to get back into the system." So it's all by design. It's problem, reaction, solution. So I see the boondocking problem, so to speak, as kind of a micro of the macro, meaning they, in society itself, they have set up all these other situations where, there's problem, reaction, solution, and the solution is always, it's better to be governed than to have chaos, anarchy, that, so to speak, sort of thing, where the system is taking care of you, and the people, the governors, are taking care of you, and you must look to them for advice. You must look to these experts for advice, and taking away our power of self-reliance, I think, in general, has been the greatest hits throughout the ages, and so the end result of that is that we end up with all these rules. So we end up with governors that are basically a bit more power hungry than most. So it's interesting to see where there may be, with something like boondocking or other things, we can exercise our ability to basically self-govern again. Because I think a lot of people have become so reliant upon the system, upon everything, all their needs being taken care of, that they've lost the entrepreneurial spirit and the ability to basically be self-reliant. The more that we kind of push back, organize and push back against things like closing of BLM land and the ability to boondock, or other ways like tiny houses. There's all kinds of rules against tiny houses. And if you look, even from county to county, it's hard to really set up a tiny house or set up an off-grid system, because they have laws in place against actually having that done. So that every step of the way, when you have your off-grid place, you have to check in with an authority to make sure it's okay. These aren't necessarily bad, but I think there should be more of a balance, more of a pushback towards these systems that make us seem like we need to be governed all of the time. With BLM land closing down, the end result of this is proof that we can't basically govern ourselves, that we have to have laws in place and be governed. Otherwise, what will happen is chaos. You'll have nastiness occur. They basically want us to believe that we can't govern ourselves. And so that we need to have these places shut down, and we need to have those laws in place. Otherwise, chaos will incur. And so they want to reinforce this idea that we need to be governed. Is we can exercise those independent muscles more. And one of the ways is by boondocking or doing something similar, where you have to kind of figure things out and not be reliant upon systems or experts or, people telling you basically how it should be and what you should do. The more these things are done in short spurts, the more we exercise our freedom. It may not seem like freedom, but it actually is freedom. We just have become we've become so reliant upon everything. We don't see where freedom ends and control begins. Camping out in the woods, anything like that, where you can exercise your mind, body, spirit, and a connection to a planet, seeing the stars at night, being out and away from it all, and also just disconnecting, unplugging from the media and unplugging from all these different systems. You start to see yourself as a being on a planet rather than just a cog in a machine. Those are just some thoughts. Thanks a lot for watching. Found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like and share it with a friend. And I'll see you next time.